Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Edge podcast with myself, Brendan Tierney, and joined again by Emlyn Mulligan. Back for week 4, Emlyn.
Back for week 4, yes, Brendan, and plenty to talk about.
Plenty to talk about. On the pitch, things going on off the pitch, and it's our week 4 and there's only 4 teams left. You were in Croke Park on Sunday.
I was. I
we'll start with that one anyways. So.
Yeah, no, I was fortunate to be there on Sunday for RT Radio for the Galway Meath game.
Okay, so you were working on that one and then you obviously stayed around for the next one.
And then stayed around for the next one and obviously tuned in on GA Plus for the previous night.
Yes, okay,
But yeah, great weekend of football.
It had everything. Like I had written one of my notes here going like, how many teams were way behind? Like Kerry way behind, Donegal way behind, and you're kind of going, oh, is this it now? Have the legs run out of all the teams? Because Armagh, Dublin, Galway all ended up going out, and they were the group of death.
Yeah.
But yet Armagh did have a week's rest, but then Donegal didn't have much rest, and then they tore off into Monaghan. So it was a real, but I think it was another, how would you say, another thumbs up to the whole rules thing, because anything goes now. Yeah,
and that was it. Like, as you said, you could analyse the week rest and how important it was, and it probably showed a small bit in the Donegal-Monaghan game, maybe. But again, I think just Monaghan tactically were very good against Donegal in terms of the press, the kick-outs, and just couldn't sustain it, I suppose. And then Donegal just got their second win in the second half, and hats off to them, their fitness
levels. Very
levels.
hard to choose winners. Very hard to pick Anthem now, because you're going, oh, well, this makes all the logic why Donegal should beat Monaghan. But then when they're 5 down, you're going, oh, maybe they're gone now. You know, do you know what I was watching and reading and listening to those things all week? To me, it's the fight. Like Galway, which we'll get to in a minute. Like, and I'm obviously a Galway fan. I'm very disappointed, but they didn't seem to have that fight that like Kerry had. Donegal seemed to have an anger. Kerry seemed to have an anger. You know what I mean? Some of the teams that got through, I think it was more that grit and determination, because it was relatively level playing field with a lot of teams.
Yeah, and that's it. And I suppose we were talking about this going into the previous weeks about Jim McGuinness turning everybody against Donegal, and then you had Kerry being turned against everybody, and that just brings out that little, I suppose, that extra bit that was needed. But yeah, Galway's scenario, I did feel at one stage I was like, right, this is a huge opportunity for me here to win this, and obviously they took it in the end. But when Galway did get it back and took control of that period with about 10 minutes to go, I thought Galway have to see this out. But hats off to Meath. I suppose they're never said or attitude, and to be in that position and come through it, and you know, obviously
to nearly lose it and come back for a team which you might say are on the rise, it was huge. But like going back to the first half, it was probably the worst half of all the weekend of football. Like it was so flat. It was like a point each after 17 minutes or something like that. And again, I was there as the Galway man going, are they tired? Like it was nearly like they were going, okay, we'll just wait till the second half. You know, because Donegal did that, and it was like, which they obviously weren't doing, but it was so flat. I was there going, these are the favourites. You know, you think go for the juggler, frighten me, to look at our forwards, but they didn't. You were at it. Like a lot of people are saying and again, you only even see so much of the telly. Was it the Galway forwards weren't moving a lot? A lot of people are saying.
Yeah, I noticed that quite frequently. Like, and as you said, there was a lot of unforced errors. Even young Thompson were dropping balls, getting turned over, which it was just so lethargic in terms of their approach. There was a stage that Meath were behind the arc and Peter Cook got the ball, and he just ran out on his own around the 50-metre line in a wee circle solo. Like you'd look up, and don't be critical of players, but like Shane Walsh inside that time just with his back to the ball, not even making the runs. Finnerty the same at times. And listen, you're looking to implement your kicking game at times, but Meath were just well set up that there was nothing really bar a bit of, I suppose, class from Shane Walsh to break them down at that period. But there was definitely an opportunity there for Galway to take control of that game, because Meath weren't firing. Meath had more intensity, but they were wasteful the other side. And like Jordan Morris, in fairness to him, who turned in an unbelievable. His first 3 shots were I think it was dropped short away, but he kept plugging away, like, and obviously it just shows you. If you persevere with something, and it turned out he banged in whatever 1-6 or that, but
1-6.
But Galway will be extremely disappointed. There's no question about it. As you said, they lacked that fight, that intensity around the middle where we expect them to win a lot. Meath competed so well on the breaking ball. It was a battle of Meath probably won in the end on their kickouts, and that was the part we thought Galway would dominate with, like Darcy, Conroy, Maher.
This is the thing, like there were such big men, and I mean, now I'll go on. I have a little piece to talk about general and kickouts, like, but they have all these monsters in midfield, like, and on Sunday, like, it was actually hard to go through the team and see who played well. Yeah. Obviously, Damien Comer came in. Obviously, we're not on the inside. We haven't a clue what level different lads are at, or what the tactics, what the reasons. But like, you're kind of going, oh, imagine if he'd started, like, you know.
And even McDade, like, the influence he had when he came in straight away, that power through the middle. And even Connery came in, first ball he got, looked to kick the ball inside.
Yeah.
Do you know, and like straight away you could just see that they pose more of an attacking threat.
Like the bomb squad in the Six Nations, so could put all these lads in, and now we're going to change everything. I'd love to know. I'd love to just Pádraig Joyce and say that was the plan. Yeah, and it nearly worked. Like, you know,
but it's, and again, listen, you can't take it away from me either. Like in terms of some of their players that stood up, like even like you talk with your full back Sean Rafferty. Caulfield wing back around the middle. Conor Gray come on, the big massive man, the size of him come in. Got that goal, won the kickouts, and then obviously Costello up front and Jordan Morris. Like they have that touch of class too. I suppose a lot of teams mightn't have that. It's grand to contain a team.
Flair.
They were able to punish in the other end, and I suppose hats off to them. And listen, they're in bonus territory again, but their confidence to win a big game like that in Croke Park is it's massive for them.
No, it's a mental stamp in your mind going, we can beat a big team in Croke Park and we can come back. Galway have come back from so much this year, and maybe someone said maybe that was the real Galway. They were just struttering through.
And that's it. And you're on about your decisions, like obviously the call to put Gleeson in goals again. Yeah, starting him. But in fairness, he brought off a super save in the first half, which I think and
I wouldn't have any flaw on Gleeson over the whole year. Look, we'll just go into the kickouts thing because like Ethan Rafferty in the Kerry Armagh game for me, and I'm not singling him out. I'm just singling this. Why are goalies doing this crazy dangerous kick out right to the sideline? He did it. Armagh were up. I think it was 4 or 5 in a row he did. I watched it back actually this afternoon, and all these dangerous kicks to the sideline. They went over the sideline, they lost them, and against Galway, he did the same thing. So I'm not saying he's the reason they lost in one sense, but when you're up and you're on the flow, that's the point going, well, where did we start losing it ourselves? Kerry didn't win it in that point. He gave it to them in so many instances.
And I think it was that 15-minute period when there was it 5 up in the 40th minute or whatever. I think there was 11 kickouts and Kerry won 8 of his and 3 of them went over the sideline. Yep. And like that stat is just, it's when you see it now, and obviously you have to commend Kerry in terms of press and all.
Like they were class, but I'm going, okay, so if you're being pressed, no tactician tell me, and I'm not a manager, but never tell me, they've been kicked up on the press. Kick it out the field. If you lose it out the field, fair enough, but don't lose it at the end line or the sideline. And again, there was even, I watched one of Rafferty's thing, and I was playing a junior B match a couple of weeks ago. It was a young lad in goal, and I said, when you're kicking out, make sure there's a gate of our players down the same side. And I watched Rafferty, he kicked it out to a load of fellas, and there was a big space. So I was like, well, if you lose that there, there's a channel to go down. At least if you lose it, go to the side where, we have a bit of cover there. Yeah. And like these are pro, and Rafferty's a sensational player.
And I suppose we don't know that, when, you know yourself we're talking about. And
no, we don't have a clue.
No, and that's it. And when the pressure's on, there are 70,000 people, and you're like, that period, I've never seen a period like that in football, I'd say. I don't know how many years, that 15-minute period. I've never seen 4.
I don't think it's ever happened that I can think of.
12 shots, 12 scores. Like, it was just absolutely phenomenal stuff. And then I'm sure when the ball just keeps coming back to him in this, like, when you're kicking that ball out 11, 12 times in space that period, and the pressure is mounting, and I don't know, we don't know like what their kick-out strategy is, and is there fellas looking for it? And maybe it was just bad placement of the ball, but hats off, Kerry, and like, again, we could go to Sean Patton in the first half for Donegal, pulling these small ones into the corner, men, like, gave away a couple of ones down the middle. Like, as you said, sometimes just put the ball out on top of Murphy, and it's the safest option that at least if we lose it, we can regroup and sit back and defend.
You have time to regroup, or you're 30 metres further or 40 metres more than our goal. And even going to stay on kickouts, like Galway gave, like as I said, I couldn't fault Gleeson for pretty much anything I can remember on the day. He gave a kick out, and everyone went, they messed up the short kick out. Hold on a second now. He got it to Daniel Flaherty, no problem. He passed it to Johnny McGrath. Yeah. And then Johnny just, and I mean, I'd never give out with Johnny McGrath, sensational player, but I'm sure we're just analysing a game, like just that moment. And he turned into trouble, and you're like going, hold on now, just if you could pause there and go, right, he's one of their best forwards. Maybe this isn't the time to risk going anywhere near another player. And it was just that moment. So that was again, why not? Why do a short kick out there? So could you kind of blame Gleeson then going, we're 3 points up, I think. Go out the field, lads, and let's regroup. Let's keep pounding them.
And then the other side of that, Gleeson might be saying we're struggling a wee bit out to win this primary possession. There's a short on, perfect. But as you mentioned, like, players are so conditioned now, even forwards, like they rate themselves on tackles. Yeah. Like, you've seen Morris and them there. Like, it was Jordan Morris got the hand in actually to flick it off. Yeah. Got the 1-2 then obviously for the goal. But it was a crucial period. But some players, when you take the ball into a tackle with 2 men nowadays, the chances are it's going to come off you. And unfortunately for Galway, that's what happened. And it's completely changed the dynamic of that game completely,
I couldn't believe Armagh could be beaten by so much. Yeah, I couldn't believe, and you're trying to pick out.
But you'd have to question their tactics too, like, and you'd have to question, obviously, like take Clifford out of the game, like who still chipped in with 7 points, but like Sean O'Shea was absolutely phenomenal. But like, I was reading something during the week, every point he kicked, it was off a different player.
Okay, there was no one really stuck to
and how he was not tagged, and just said, you just stay there, or whoever, whether it's the six or the wing back or whoever to bring back to mark him. Like, he kicked, what did he kick, 8 or something in the first half, or like, surely you take him out of that now in the second half, don't to nullify his influence. But in fairness, listen, Kerry, you just know Kerry. When Kerry can play football, they can play football, and they can beat. You can beat the physicality with just their general intelligence on the ball. Their shooting, their score taking, which like again was phenomenal. And I suppose Kerry's biggest challenge is to match that again.
This would be the interesting one now.
And if they do, they're going to struggle. Any team's going to struggle to beat them if they play with that. But to match that again,
But
they're not.
It was some of their subs. And Mike Breen, was it? Like, did he come on and get 2 points? Is that right?
Like even Paddy Clifford's influence again being on the. He'll be back probably full again. But I think it's just the match that everybody now is speaking of was nearly favourites again, whereas they were being wrote off coming into that game.
Sure, so Darragh O'Shea said, like, should just get it over with, like, let Armagh get at them and beat them. Like,
but
as you said about Armagh's tactics, like they really came in, and I watched a lot of the games. A lot of teams do defend outside the arc now, but Armagh seems so rigid.
Yeah.
So rigid. And there was times there, I think it was Tiernan Kelly, he ran after a player and then he's like, I'm outside the line. He went back in.
Yeah, Sean O'Shea's 2-pointer. He literally sat back in to offer him the shot. And it's, as you said, these boys that level are just...
and like it's awful easy. I mean, I've never played inter-county football, but it's awful easy. But you just watch something, you go, you'd love to know what was the plan there. But it's so obvious that they were like hide inside the arc nearly. And as you said, that they didn't have a man marker for the best forward.
Just follow him around. Like he was sidestepping lads, he was kicking off his left from outside the arc. Like, you don't give him that opportunity.
No.
But the grit was between their teeth. And listen,
like in fairness to them, like they were sensational to watch.
Phenomenal through as a whole and just everything about it. But again, listen, I'm sure the minute they got into that dressing room, it was right, lads.
Someone said, one of the reporters said they had a truck out the back with ice baths.
Yeah.
And he said he was trying to get word of a few of them, but they were in and out of the ice truck. Like,
that
just shows you the level. And there's 2 weeks away. You'd be like, come on, 2 weeks, you should be fine.
That's it, yeah.
But obviously, they don't leave nothing to chat.
Few beers.
Because
I've seen a picture of Sean O'Shea in 99 down in... and I just stopped in some shop on the way home and there was a couple of kids getting photos of Clifford and them all and it was a 99.
That was a Jim McGuinness thing a couple of years ago as well. Did you ever go for 99s after matches?
I said, Leitrim was a 6-pack of Peroni. Because normally we were either knocked out or we lost, so it was easier to just drown our sorrows, unfortunately. But
I was on about just to go into the Monaghan Donegal, like the comebacks. Where are Donegal now? Like, are they favourites? Like, they keep going up and down. Like, you know what I mean? It's very hard to pin where they're at.
I think like Monaghan, obviously, again, hats off to them, putting a phenomenal display in the first half, and left a good bit behind them. It's funny when you analyse then the second half. Like I think it was their Bannigan lad missed a great 1-on-1 chance, blazed it over the bar. Had that gone in the back of the net, like you're talking a totally probably different finish.
Sucker punch.
Then
they
lost
McCarthy.
Then they lost the sideline ball. Then they didn't lose it. Donegal lad kind of was a bit pushed out. He kind of nearly ran over the line with the ball. He was kind of, the hand was out from the Monaghan. I think it was number 8. And from that line ball that Monaghan were trying to obviously fight for it as in for their own, but from that line ball came the goal. And like they're small things, but Donegal's momentum again, their breaking ball, just their intensity. Like even Michael Murphy had a couple of wides. I think again there's another stat. I think they scored 126 from 26 shots. That was their stat in the game. So with the 2 pointers,
29 shots or something.
No, I think it was 26 because the 2 pointers.
Sorry,
and the 3 wides and 3 of them were from Michael Murphy. Like that's crazy.
I drop him.
That's unheard of sort of a stat. Like, it's like. That's the level they're operating at, and I suppose in terms of making. And then if you look at Monaghan in the second half, display of shooting, they were just all over the shop. They were composure. They were just they just couldn't live up to the. And Donegal are winning that hard ball and just running and driving at them. And again, like Michael Murphy again, just coming on the loop, taking players out of it, laying it off like Langan's goal, like sidestep for a man that's about 6'4".
I know, big tank, like
20 yards out, bang, like what a goal! Like, and that was the setting of the tone. And I think it was because I just seen them in the huddle coming in at half time, and Andy Moran was around them and. Like you're probably saying, stay calm, just keep doing what you're doing. But
that must be always the thing, because like you probably mentally go, God, we're 5 points up, we're cruising. It's just go, we're back to 0 now, lads. And the teams that can do that. And I think it was maybe on the day, and not all year, but on the day Galway didn't have the leaders. Donegal probably did have the leaders. Like, is that just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe something like that is what was maybe missing.
Yeah, and even like Paddy McBurty came in, had an influence coming in this time off the bench.
Gallen taking off.
And he had a super start. He kicked the first couple of points, and even Darragh Whale. But yeah, Donegal's, listen, their athleticism, intensity, I just can't see, listen, we're not going too much into semi-finals, but the draw now against Meath, like Meath are going to come up against a different opposition now with a fight and intensity, and the 2-week break for Donegal is obviously now.
They'll be like, what do we do for 2 weeks? Lads?
But no, that was a great game, and I have to say, as you said, Monaghan were very brave in their approach. They went kind of a 4-4-4, pushed up on all patterns, kick out, sucked them in, and listen, they reaped the rewards and kicked a couple of massive 2-pointers again, and I always had
that's why I kind of fancied. Remember, I said it here last week that could go to penalties, that one. Because they have that danger of 2-pointers from a number of players.
Yeah.
And then you had to bring Jack McCarron on.
But even having him in the bench, I thought, she's 5 up here, coming in.
Yeah.
But they really, I suppose they nullified him and Beggan in the second half. Like Beggan had a very good first half, and that score he kicked on the stroke of half time was Jesus.
I think that's the overriding thing when everyone analyses the game with Donegal, you're going, you assume McGuinness is this absolute guru going, I'm thinking, I have a plan, I'll fix it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's maybe, you know, you'd love to hear.
No, that's true. And as you said, we could just say it's about intensity, but there could be a small little trigger there somewhere that completely changed that game that we don't know of. Yeah. And listen, they're in a semi-final, and again, they're looking strong. Yeah,
absolutely. And Dublin are gone, and now they've no manager. Like, it was the one game I don't pretend I didn't get to see that one in full now myself.
Yeah, it was a poor enough quality. Like, it was grand. Like Tyrone again kicked 4 2-pointers at the very start to keep them in it, and Dublin were just very probably dependent on Cormac Oslo to a degree. There was numerous chances in the second half when there was a point in it. They were finding themselves in great positions, but hadn't the confidence to take on the 20-yard shot, coming back out around the arc. And because Lakes of Merchant did very well on Dara Canavan. McCurry was taken off, was poor.
This is the thing.
But then they had young McAlone come on there, Rory Canavan, Benidorm, they all chipped in with a couple of scores, and they have that energy and firepower on the bench. It just killed off the game. But they always just looked a step ahead of Dublin. And again, Dublin just not able to kick 2-pointers.
Well, they've one of the lowest stats of 2-pointers.
Like, and any effort they had they just were so poor at that in that level. And again, it's like teams have to, I suppose, in games it's very nip and tuck. You probably have to chip in with the odd one or two. But I just seen some during the week. They were saying very few were kicked into the hill this weekend. Barrett Thompson and Sean O'Shea. They were saying there's very few kicked all weekend. It was always the other side. But Dublin just didn't have the firepower, unfortunately, to do the damage when they had the possession. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what changes they make now. You know, because I mean, even some of the players that maybe aren't at retirement age, but they've still played how many years and won All Irelands. And now, as I said, no Desi, you know what I mean? So I know that's
there's a lot of managers' jobs now. We even hear ourselves in Sligo. Who else? Sligo, Mayo,
Roscommon,
Dublin.
Galway potentially.
Galway. I would have. I mean, it's going to. And Porrick, in fairness, he said himself that he won't make any rash decisions.
No, and that's fair.
I would be, and again, this is my maroon glasses on. I would be more than happy to see him stay on.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams, and maybe Galway won't be the only benefit. They've now learned an awful lot of one season of this, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I still think there's a good enough. If Galway had got through me, they only lost by a point. Like, they've lost the last 3 times. The last 3 seasons, their last game of the season was lost by a point. Like, they could have won them all. Like, if they had stayed in and they were playing Donegal, would I be going, oh no, we're going to get hammered by Donegal?
No, you would not at all. So, no, and I think even like say for Tyrone coming through playing poorly-ish, but they're a force to be, you know, to be reckoned with.
They're really hard to know because Canavan and McCurry have been
and they've loads of options. Like, they've plenty of forwards and a lot of youth, and conditions were slipping now in that game too, and I suppose it mightn't have suited like some McCurry at times, but like, they're going in now against underdogs, supposedly, against Kerry, and there's great rivalry with them two teams over the last 15-20 years too. That's making for a great semi-final now. Yeah.
I mean, it'll be two good semi-finals, and look, we'll talk about them next week's show. But so it's just be another interesting one to see where Meath are at. Will they come to roost now that they're maybe just not at that level? I'm just another point is refs, okay? And I've heard this multiple times. Oh, the ref let things go. It's great. The game is flowing. Now, I'm picking out the Galway game again. Clearly, I'm being biased, but Daniel O'Flaherty, for example, was clearly fouled, and then they went up and got a goal. Now, if you let things go, that's great. But if you're letting things go, and then it's like, well, they're letting that foul go up the far end, 70, 80 meters from the goal, that's not going to affect. But when it's someone breaking and running, you were at the live matches. I'm not a fan of the refs letting things go when it's blatant fouls.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a couple episodes in that, and from a distance, I was you'd be questioning, going, "Geez, that looked like a definite." And then it seemed to be when he let one go for one team, then he had to. It was a balancing act.
But you can't balance it because it's not in the same position.
No, whereas if you give 4 to a team and they're not too bad, and people are going, "Oh, he's awful biased," and as you said, listen, at the end of the day, we want to see a bit of physicality in the game completely. And there was one brilliant hit in it. That full-back, Sean Rafferty hit Maher. The ball was down the sideline. Mightn't have seen it too much on TV. He came and the two of them collided, and it was brilliant to see it. But as you said, them little balls on the ground are players. If in turn it returns in a goal to put you out of the championship, like the rules are rules at the end of the day, and it's not about fairness and but if it's legit, it's grand. But if you're doing something that's not towards the rules as such, and it is it's a free. Just because you feel like, I'll let that go to make this more entertaining, in the grand scheme of things, you can't do that consistently throughout the game. But I do understand now and again, and there's tussles here and there. But
an odd tussle where no one can see it. But Daniel Friday was running up the field. I always say, always benefit the person trying to play well, play positive, play attacking football.
Yeah.
If he was running up the pitch and a fella comes across him and you go, well, unless he blatantly gets the ball clean and he does anything else bar that, it'll be a free.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, that's how they should be letting the game go in a positive light.
Yeah, and it's just getting that balance right, because I suppose as spectators and neutrals, you want to see it, but then you're involved in them camps, and this
is the thing. Like,
as you're a supporter there, but you're putting in you're putting in all these hours every week
Yep.
for you to be fouled and a referee not to give you that decision just because he wants to let the game flow and to make when you look at it that way, you'd be very disappointed.
Daniel Flaherty, there was a question when he was on the ground, he flicked the ball up. It looked very close to being a foul, but it actually went to a Meath man.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why the ref said that's okay. But he didn't flag it, and could he have argued that we went up and got a goal from it because they lost the ball? But again, even at the end, I know Conor Gleeson tried to kick the ball out quickly.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, I was really annoyed. But what happened was, in the last minute, when you know the team is acting the maggot delay, and Meath did delay a free down the sideline.
Yeah.
The ref should be going, I'm going to pause the clock here now, lads.
Yeah.
And he took about 20 seconds before he paused it.
I was actually watching it and looking at it, and I paused then on 45, on whatever it was, 69-45.
Yeah.
And then he blew it. And then it went into by the time he still kicked it was 54, 55, 6. And then it was actually a funny one. I'm surprised he actually didn't have to take the shot on and then put it over the bar.
Yeah.
And it would have went, but he just kicked it out over the.
But if someone said, because you said the time was enough.
It was 3 seconds. It was nearly a 3 second kind of thing. But
Gleeson had his little trickle kick that he does. Now, someone said I think you have to take them all from the 20 metre now.
Yeah, they all do,
So he took it from the 13.
Yeah, he would.
It was Eamon Fitzmaurice said it one thing's like, that's the difference at 2 seconds. But if they're, it's the small margins. But I just think, and I love the Hooter thing. It takes all this kind of question about who's they playing for replays and all that. But I think they're just going to have to get a bit sharper near the end of a tight game going, hold on, this could win or lose the game.
Well, it's crucial. The last 20 seconds, it's kind of like a basketball game now. It's down to the very last second. And my pet hate actually referees at the minute, and it happens too often for me, is referees stand in the middle of the D. Ref in the game. The amount of games I've seen clips of a pause, right? So teams are on the arc. The ref is behind the play, right? Looking out. Okay. So he's taking up the space of a runner of a full forward that's coming out.
Yeah.
Did you could actually shadow him towards the referee,
no,
could use, or an attacker could use the referee as a, if I was there, I'd be saying, I'd be run for the referee, with your man.
And then go around him. And then
the amount of times I've seen referees drifting into that space, because he obviously sees, here's a safe place to stand, but he's absolutely taken up where the runners, if you're watching again, just keep an eye on it.
Now.
Because a lot of them have actually, just they seem to drift into that area, and they're definitely preventing runs or attacks and such, they're like an extra man nearly standing in there,
Yeah.
But no, listen, it'll be, the Joe McQuillan's down to referee he's doing the Tyrone Kerry game, and is it for Falloon? Can't think of his first name. Falloon. See from down there, he's doing the. But there's pressure on them, so it's.
It'll be interesting to see. And there's definitely no more rule changes than at this stage. I think we're all good for
that
side of things.
Is right.
But look at, as I said again, obviously as a Galway man, very disappointing. There was frustrating moments, but again, despite it's like I'm an Arsenal fan as well, and as someone said once, Arsenal lost how many games this year or they were a goal up, but if they were good enough to be 2 up and they missed chances.
Yeah.
So Galway, if there was lethargy in the first half, that's what really kind of baffled me going, if they went at them then with the gusto they had, that probably would have kept any ref's decisions out of the equation then, So, I mean, that's what bounces.
And it is, and as you said, it's not as if Meath had a brilliant first half. There was absolutely no physicality. There was no hits in it. There was from both teams. So, it was an opportunity to say, geez, I'm sure, listen, if they're sitting on the bus talking about it now on the way home, we're thinking, geez, we could have, if we brought our A game to that first half, we could have inevitably won the game in that half. But the longer you kept Meath in that, the fans got behind them. And
always, never let the underdog breathe.
And again, when that class of Jordan Morris was just a difference in the end.
And going to the ref on that one as well, after I think Shane Malcha put his 3 ahead, I might be mistaken, but we'd just scored. Sean Kelly had just been injured in a foul.
Yes.
During that play. Ref plays on. There's no one marking the Meath player that Sean Kelly would have been marking.
Yes.
And they go down and score. And I was like, going, a minute later, some Meath fella had a blood sub and he stops the game before the game. You're like, so it's like small things. If a fella's lying down, you go, he didn't just fall in the middle of the play. He had fallen in the previous play. And he was still down. So
I'm glad to see it doesn't hurt anyway, Brendan.
No, but that's me being from reffing. And I've been on about steps for years in every game.
Yeah.
So I'm going, I just see it as it is. I suppose because I watched that match more intently, I've seen more things. So managers, if you were to manage all the empty jobs now, what one would you go for next year that you think has a bit of potential?
Jeez, there's it's so hard.
See, I don't think. Well, clue obviously, but Dublin, to me, I know they had a bit of a spurt this year, but there's a lot of weaknesses shown there, and I'd be more worried if I was coming in and going, some of the fellas been there long enough mightn't want more in. You mightn't bring the energy again.
Yeah, and I seen people saying about Jared Brennan potentially if that was you'd imagine all the signs are leading to him maybe going to Dublin, but then. Dublin have an awful amount of people around that could potentially step into that.
Declan Darcy,
and whether they could join up. But then people are saying, listen, Louth have a better. Well, I know this year that their minors, the 20s, and their seniors as well coming through. But I still think if Louth had even got Dublin, they're in a final Leinster final. I think Dublin would have won that Leinster final. No, and that's no respect to Louth at all at the minute where they're at. Do you know what I mean? But Dublin are still going to have a conveyor belt of players all the time coming. And listen, for likes of Jared Brennan, you can't turn down your own county.
Your own home.
And he's probably got he can't surpass what he's done with Louth. I like, I'm not going to put them in All-Ireland contenders stage. So like, you're getting your Leinster out of it. Like up there then, the likes of Sligo here, like Tony McEnany's after leaving here, he could be potentially allowed.
True, yeah.
He's living across the Glen.
Yeah.
Or then I see him heavily linked on social media, which I wouldn't believe a lot of the stuff. There's a couple of papers writing about linked with the Mayo job. Like Roscommon, listen, it just depends what counties want to do. Do they go within their own?
Well, when's the last? Now I'm 99% sure this is accurate. I read it once. I know the fact is right, but I hope I have the year right. Name the last person to win an All-Ireland in hurling or football that wasn't from their own county.
I don't know what I say. Was it Galway? No?
Yeah.
John O'Mahony.
So what does that tell you? Like, outside managers don't work.
Yeah, like in Mayo side of things, like it's one of those jobs. Like there's so much controversy with the county board and different in terms of different aspects outside of football. Is it something you want to get involved in? Like obviously there's different names. Like James Horne's name has been thrown back around the hat again. You go back to him again, or is he kind of saying, "Geez, I've enough of this"? Like Andy Moran, obviously. Would Andy probably, like Andy, he seems to be loyal enough sort of fella. I could see him potentially staying on with him on, and I'd say he's seen enough.
We'll hold that clip now for when he leaves.
Yeah, that age 12.
But you know, I would have the same thing with Andy just from knowing him. I mean, fair play to him if he does move. Again, like a fool looking in from the sideline, I'm just saying, just think he might do one more year of coaching, and they did do a lot well, Monaghan, and then come back.
The only thing is, if someone goes in a Mayo, they could be there for 4 or 5 years, and you could miss the boat.
Yeah, but he might come and take his own term in the likes of Sligo though, or Roscommon.
Yeah, and then I've seen a lot of people saying he should take his own county.
Yeah, I was going to say he won't take the Roscommon job. I think somehow.
I did see him in a Roscommon jersey on a picture of him on social media during the week. So if he's listening, no offense. But the Roscommon vacancy then again. Listen, we know there's a lot of talent in Roscommon, but it just they don't seem they're just lacking that edge altogether that the likes of we're talking about that the likes of Donegal have, and even Galway to a degree. But just somebody, I don't know, again within their own ranks, they've plenty of former greats like Frankie Dole and these boys. I don't know, they're involved in their 20s and that. Do they step up to it? And maybe that's what Roscommon need.
It's that respected player that played that, like when Pádraig Joyce came in, it kind of lifts them another level again.
That's
it was Kevin Walsh before that. So.
And sometimes you need your local fella to give you that passion back because he's there, like Paddy Joe Burke, the barber there, and met him there in the train on the way up. He told me to throw his name into the hat. So
no better man.
He'd have the passion anyway. I tell you, he'd be the first man to be ringing. But listen, it's funny how things go, because even when I was in Croke Park the weekend, we were saying if Kerry lose today, Jack O'Connell will be gone. Do you know? And it's like, and then they're like, if Galway lose, it's a business that it's dog eat dog in it, you know, like you've seen the stresses caused on people.
But look at how long it took McGeaney, you know. So it maybe patience works as long as they're kind of getting to the business of the season.
And that's the patient, and he's there long. But
so you're not putting your name in the hat for any of them anyways? No. You managed your club in Leitrim last year?
I managed a club in Leitrim for a couple of weeks,
What's it like being a manager like that? Because
I enjoyed it, but the only thing, I was still playing. I was trying to mix the boat. I was playing senior championship here in Sligo in the middle of playing or managing Leitrim club championship, and it was just, I was gone 5-6 nights of the week, and it was kind of, there was talk of, geez, if you win the Leitrim Championship, we're betting semi-final, unfortunately, the last kick of the game.
You have to play
against each other,
That would be the best thing ever.
But I enjoyed it because it was a short period, and it was in the middle of championship, because you had everybody. But I think the hardest thing as managers is just getting it up and going, pre-season, it's a long season, you're training 4 or 5 months, even for ourselves at club, you're still a month away from club championship, and it's
that's just, what I'm saying,
it's such a long, it's such a long drag for club players.
It's hard. I don't know. I know
hard to keep the motivation.
The split season doesn't really exist.
No. Like you think county players go back, well, allegedly in November and early December, and they're out in the league in January, whereas club players go back in January and they don't have championship till August. Do you know what I mean? A lot of managers nowadays are kind of a bit more cop on and leave it till March or April. But it's, as you said, it's just, there's no head nor tail to it. But that's another point for another day.
We'll have a full show on that another day. Well, look, thanks again, Emlyn. We will be back next week and we'll preview the semi-finals and see where we're going from there. Thanks to James behind the cameras for tonight, helping out. And thanks to our sponsor, EJ Menswear here in Sligo Town. But go and check them out on ejmenswear.com. See you all next week. Thanks for watching.